All right, Derby humans, if you have ever felt like you were doing all the right things, but you were still not seeing it translate on the track, then this conversation is for you. Today I'm chatting with Missy DeWitt, a skater who went from following DIY workouts and still struggling with endurance and blocking techniques, and now has become or is in the process of becoming a fast reacting, powerful, and confident blocker, which is so exciting. So we're going to dig into really the exact shifts that she's been making in her training, and what, one specific coaching cue like completely changed totally all of her wall work. And now how she's training for Derby longevity, right? With her eyes set on training into her 50s. So if you are ready to stop spinning your wheels and start skating with purpose, and keep listening, because Missy's story is packed with so many insights that you are going to be able to apply today. So Missy, thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. You want to just dive in? Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so for skaters that are still doing DIY workouts, what do you think they don't realize about why it's not actually getting them track ready?
So I would say for DIY workouts, you're probably thinking either like, I need to get my muscles strong without knowing specifically what you're targeting, or I need to get faster, and that only translates as like treadmill, exercise bike, elliptical. And so you might be improving parts of your body, but a workout that's tailored to roller derby is going to be a more efficient use of your time and your sweat and your tears to get to you where you want to be.
Yeah. 100%, right? It's like one thing just to get sweaty, like it's
Yes,
another to actually have it translate. So what's one sign
exactly.
for you that you realize like, oh, like my training plan is not actually helping me get better?
Um, I think I just wasn't seeing what I wanted to see as quickly. So like I knew I was getting stronger. I was doing squats and deadlifts, and I was like, okay, my weight's going up. My weight's going up. Like I can lift more than I could, 2 months ago, and that's awesome and it feels great. But I wasn't necessarily seeing that I was being a more effective blocker because of it.
Mhm.
And then I started being assigned as a pivot more often and realized that, oh, when I take a star pass in a game, I'm burning out hard within the first 20 seconds.
Yep.
And so there's something that is not working on what I'm doing right now.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's a place like when you get thrown from into the pivot position, all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, like you can't
Yes.
hide, you know? And you used to think agility drills were just for jammers. What helped you really shift that mindset? And what would you say
Yeah.
to blockers who still think that, oh, like agility is for jammers?
Well, I would say what shifted it for me was actually doing it. So I started getting agility workouts assigned for my, 2 or 3 times a week. It'd be a little thing here and there, like a ladder drill, running diagonals in the gym. Um, so I started doing these things, and all of a sudden I realized that I could track a jammer laterally so much more quickly. It makes
Mhm.
sense. A jammer is moving quickly, that a blocker is also going to need to move quickly to keep up with a jammer. I don't know why I didn't think about it.
Right.
But once it came into practice, I was like, oh, I see now. This is so nice.
Right. If you want to follow the jammer, you actually have to have the same footwork as the jammer, if
Yeah,
not better.
crazy, crazy.
Nice. And now break down your side meet issue. So you were working with Coach Sin inside of Crash
Yes.
Course, and
Hmm.
you guys were reviewing footage together like we do with you. And then she
Yeah.
had some aha moments for you. So walk us through what that was and how you solved it.
Yeah, so she noticed in the game footage that I sent to her that I would be in a butt of the wall, usually on the outside line, and I would have my butt to the track, proper formation. As soon as the jammer was coming, I would turn and then give the jammer my side meet. She's like, "Why are you doing that? That's not great. You're giving them all this legal hitting area. It's not the strongest position to be. You really need to keep your butt where it is." And I was like, well,
Mhm.
I communicate a lot. So that's how I communicate, is I'm always looking over my shoulder to see what's going on so I can tell everyone what's going on. And she's like, okay, if you're going to be communicating as your main thing, you need to be a brace. Otherwise, you need to be a butt. If you're going to be a butt, commit to being a butt. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, you know what? That does make a lot of sense. So I kind of thought about that a little bit. We talked about it some more. And then in my next game, With my wall, I said, hey, here's my goal for this game. I received some feedback that I was giving side meat too much. So I'm really going to focus on keeping square to the line, not turning. And so I was like, I need you guys to talk as much as possible so that I'm not looking over my shoulder trying to compensate. So then I started saying a lot more things like, tell me, please, where's the jammer? Where's the jammer? So like prompting that communication, and it served us so well in our next game.
That's so amazing. Like having that, it's almost like setting boundaries. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
my boundary is that if I'm going to be a butt, I need from you to communicate to me. And sometimes we're just so used to trying to do it all instead of relying on each other as a team. And then, like you said, like you requesting the information is like so key, because then you can focus on what you're doing.
Well, and it was a growth opportunity for all of us too, because like you said, trying to do everything it didn't serve anyone on my wall. Well, me trying to be like, oh, I can just do it all. Obviously I can't, we play as a group for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm one person, so I need to set that boundary. And then we can all communicate together about what we want to do differently.
Yeah, totally. And you guys worked on a couple of things like run backs and lateral movements and like one-on-one blocking. What do you think more blockers need to understand about that stuff?
So one thing that Sin said to me was, to beat a jammer, you have to be as fast as a jammer. So that was something I hadn't thought about. So in my mind previously, like 6 months ago, blocker, my goal as a blocker, be a movable wall. Nobody gets past this wall. But Sin told me, you need to, if you and the jammer both fall down, you have to be the one that gets up first. When you hit a jammer out, you need to run back faster than them. So really focusing on that speed and agility and quick responsiveness has helped me to just be a lot more effective as a blocker, especially in games that are moving so quickly. It's so exciting.
Yeah, it feels so good, right?
It's
When
so
all
fun.
of a sudden, like you're keeping up and you're in control, and you're like, "This is so awesome."
I'm like, "Oh,
and
you're
now,
out. Run!"
Right? And now with taking on the pivot role, when it comes to a star pass and keeping energy, like what's a tip or like a mindset shift that really helped you like maintain that energy? Because I know it can be really a burnout to go from blocking to jamming, essentially.
Yeah. So I, at some point, watching a lot of different workout videos, had heard somebody say, you need to train as hard as you play. So with all of the workouts that I've been getting from Coach Sin and my training, like that's been my mindset to try and train as hard as I can on any given day. And so that's really helped to push my endurance, just what I can do like in a single jam, as well as the length of time that I can play before getting totally worn out. And that combined with what we're doing at practice has been really effective. So now when I do take a star pass, I don't go, what am I gonna do? Oh no. I still feel that a little bit. But I also know that I have been putting in a lot of work to build that endurance. And so I can go a lot I could before.
Yeah. Sin is so good at building workouts that make people just unstoppable on the track.
Yes. It's masterclass.
It's
so
incredible. Awesome. I mean, it's magic. Now, if you were, let's say, advising like a new blocker today, what's one thing that you would have them focus on from day one that maybe you wish someone would have said to you?
Yeah, I really think that off skates is a huge supplement to practice. I didn't really, I was like, oh, well, we work out so hard at practice. I don't really have time. But even just things that focus on like your ankle strength and your leg strength and core, developing those muscles really goes a long way towards just being able to stay on your feet. Those are the first skills you're building, is like, how can I stay on my feet and keep up with everyone? And building up those muscle groups is a huge part of that.
Yeah, and I think injury prevention too.
Yes,
like the stronger your ankles are, the stronger your knees are, and then the less likely you are to have like a crazy fall too.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And now in this sort of process of becoming this unstoppable blocker and pivot, you've also done some sort of off the track shifting when it came to things like your nutrition and recovery and stuff like that. So what did you used to believe about recovery or nutrition that turned out to be maybe not so correct?
So I think I was just not as informed as I could have been. So, I used to be like, oh, I think I'm getting pretty good protein in a day. And then once I started tracking, I realized I was probably like halfway to where I needed to be as an
Mhm.
athlete who's actively training. So once I tried to get my protein up over 100 grams a day, that helped a lot. And then also, what's been huge for me is having protein immediately after a workout or immediately after practice, immediately after a game. I
What
know.
other things do you eat for protein? Like if you were to walk through like your whole day, what
Yeah.
kinds of like foods are you making sure that you prepare on like a setup Sunday?
Yeah, so I like to get a pretty big variety of proteins. So I will often, like chicken breast, of course, is super easy, but I'll often add like beans, like chickpeas, sunflower seeds to my meals, just like every single like extra little thing. Plus, it makes it more interesting to eat.
Mhm.
For breakfast, I'm often doing like oatmeal, and then I'll put some protein powder in there and sunflower seeds, and then some Greek yogurt as well. It makes it like a creamy treat and also more protein. So there's so many ways that you can start to explore what protein looks like without it having to be a dull and monotonous experience.
And how was that for you starting to like shift? Did you have a big shift in terms of like pre-planning your meals and stuff like that? Was that a big change for you?
Yeah, because before this, life is busy and I was just really kind of like uh, making it from one moment to another. So I'd eat a Cliff Bar every day for breakfast and then probably eat like peanuts and beef jerky for lunch. It was sad. It was really sad. And so now with my setup Sundays, I am taking time to like think and plan ahead. And I'm eating a lot of fresh produce, which has been huge just in the way
Amazing.
that I feel in my body and how my health is overall. So, like, my cholesterol has lowered, which is like an old lady problem, but it's so great. It's so good.
So
Um,
huge.
and so, like, I use that setup Sunday, and I might not get everything done that would give me all of my meals for the week, but it gets me a really good start.
Yeah.
So I always have my breakfast and my snacks ready for the week.
Amazing. Now, and obviously you're training for longevity, right? Like your mission is
Mhm.
to play like well into your 50s. So what would you
Yep.
say to a skater that wants to stay in the game long term but maybe doesn't know how to train for it?
Yeah, so I would say to, look at that prehabbing, the types of exercise you can do to prehab for your ankles, your knees, your hips, your back, all the things that we use in roller derby. Um, the second thing would be to take injury seriously. So if you get injured, don't try and just push through and play through or return to contact early, because taking the time to heal and recover is going to be an investment in your long-term derby career. Um, and then also just getting strong in general is good for your overall growth as a human person.
100%. And you talk too about like how, as you're growing as a blocker, that like you had to start taking feedback, right? Like recognizing like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't know how to do this stuff on myself.
Hmm.
How did that feel like coming into this program and then like having Sin there to like give you feedback? Was that an adjustment period? Was it like, oh thank God, just tell me what to do? Like what was that like?
Honestly, it was a huge relief. It was a relief to get feedback
Mm-hmm.
in a way that wasn't kind of in the heat of the moment. Because sometimes you're getting feedback from coaches and teammates, and if you're in the middle of gameplay or you're in the middle of practice and you're already kind of stressed out, it can be you might not always be in a stage to receive the feedback or to process it. So having feedback happen in times that weren't in the middle of gameplay or weren't in the middle of practice was really valuable because, oftentimes I was in a better headspace to be able to think and digest and process something. And then also just having somebody that I know was like dedicated to me and wasn't being split a million different directions because they hold all the cards in the league. Um,
Right.
it was really great.
Yeah. There, and I think there's something nice about having someone that's like separate from the league too, because you
Yeah.
know that there's no like league dynamics or any of that. They're just like there to just like tell you like, look, this is what's up. Like if you want to
Yeah.
get better, this is how to do
Yeah.
it. Now, what's one thing that you would say to a skater who was maybe either afraid to join a program because like they think that they're not good enough yet, or they're like afraid to join a program because they're worried like, oh my God, if I'm not going to be perfect at it, should I do it? Like, what would you say to those people?
I would say to take yourself seriously,
Mhm.
you are worth investing in. And I would, you know, I had to challenge myself at one point to take myself seriously as an athlete. I didn't think that I was. I'd never considered myself one before. So I would just encourage everyone to, if you love Derby, if you love yourself, to just take yourself seriously and look at what will get you to the next thing for yourself, and take a leap and give it a shot.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, Missy, thank you for taking the time and for sharing not just your wins, but like your actual challenges and like the mindset shifts that it took you to get there. We are so proud of you, and we are so excited for like this next year for you and everything
Thank
and beyond.
you.
I feel like your story is such great proof of like how transformation happens when you just stop guessing and you actually start training with purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so
Thank you.
for anyone that's listening, if you feel stuck, if you feel like your effort isn't translating on the track, or like you're spinning the wheels and you don't have a plan, you don't have to stay there. The path forward is probably a lot closer than you think. This is exactly what we do inside of Crash Course: the personalized coaching, the structured training, and the kind of support that really, really gets you those results that create roller derby athletes, right? So if you're someone who's listening to this and you're ready for this breakthrough and you really just want to feel like strong and confident, impactful on the track, I will drop a link in the comments and in the show notes, or if you're like watching this on Instagram, you can find it like in my bio. There's a really cool video to watch that explains how the program works, who's it's for, who's it's not for, how does it go, all that stuff. And then there's an application process. So you can apply, we'll hop on the phone, we'll see if it's a good fit on both ends, and then go from there in terms of leveling up your game, because, you know, there's probably a reason you're listening to this. So don't ignore it. And remember, life is a contact sport. So let's go out there and win. So Missy, thank you so much. It's just been so fun. It's such a joy, you know, coaching you along the way. And we're just so excited to see, you know, where you take this with your Derby journey in general.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.